when can Ukraine join the EU and on what terms? I've just been discussing this with Marta Koss, who's the top EU official that deals with enlargement, the process of joining the bloc. She told us what she thought about reports that Ukraine's EU membership could be wrapped up in a possible future peace deal. And really interestingly, she told us that the EU will be moving ahead with the process of having Ukraine join despite Hungary's current veto, although of course there are limitations on how exactly that will work. Here is what she had to say. Commissioner, thank you so much for speaking to DW. We're hearing reports that involved in a possible peace plan for Ukraine's future is the idea that by 2027 Ukraine could be part of the EU. Is that even technically possible?
I'm very happy that this peace plan speaks about EU accession of Ukraine. This is now the first draft. We will see what will come out at the end, but when we speak about the Ukrainian EU membership, for me this is a political anchor of the security guarantees. And this is actually the only way for me, integration in the EU, to secure the lasting and fair peace. Why? You know, we can take care that Ukraine will be more prosperous. We can take care that Ukraine will be democratic. We can take care that, you know, the people would really feel the benefits of being a member of the EU. And without this prosperity and without being safe, no peace is possible. That's why I see really, and I'm happy about this very, very strong connection, peace agreement plus EU membership. At which date this, of course, we will see. It also depends on how quick Ukraine will be in the reforms, and also it is also connected to what our member states will say when we will be ready to accept Ukraine.
Until now, the process of joining the EU for Ukraine has been held up, blocked, essentially on hold, because one EU member state, Hungary, has been essentially vetoing any progress on that. Is there a way to circumvent that veto and move this process forward?
The process is not blocked at all. It is the decision-making process is blocked. But the negotiations are going on, and I'm happy that we have been able, on the technical level of the negotiations going on. So we have done the faster screening process ever. I just came from Lviv, from the informal GAC, when European Commission, and meaning also my team, we have gotten a clear instruction that we can go on with the technical part on the clusters 1, 2, and 6. So there is no blockage. Yes, at some point we will have to find unanimity, but for the time being, for the technical part, we can go on. And what is the most important part is, Ukraine doesn't need Hungary to do the reforms. It is a transformational process for the benefits of the whole country. Now it is necessary also in the accession process. But Hungary can stop the decision-making process, but cannot stop Ukraine doing the reforms.
You mentioned there GAC, that's a General Affairs Council, so a meeting of European affairs ministers that you were at earlier a couple of days ago, which seems to have given quite an interesting green light to move things forward in an entirely new way. I mean, this is unprecedented as far as I understand. And you also mentioned about clusters. Give us an idea concretely of what does that mean then? What happens now?
Now has happened that, we can only go once we have done the screening process, and the screening process has been done and debated in the Council. We, as a European Commission, in order to be able to go on with the technical part of the accession, we need clear instructions what the member states are expecting from candidates. And this is what we have gotten now, as I have mentioned, for the clusters 1, 2, and 6. So,
which are?
Which are the fundamentals, internal market, and cluster 6 is external affairs. Meaning, for us, it is really the most important part that we can go on. Yes, it is innovative way. We call it front loading, but this is the wish of the EU 26, and I'm very, very happy and encouraged to go even faster in this process.
So that means membership moves forward. The reforms in those areas that you mentioned will continue from the Ukrainian side. You will move forward as though you were progressing, but there will just not be the usual fanfare and milestones that you would have when a country checks off a certain box in the process of joining the EU. Is that correct?
We will check the boxes, and Ukraine, and this will be done the same for Moldova, will be able to go on. As I have said, this is a kind of front-loading process. So we will do everything that perhaps at some time later, when we will get the unanimity of EU 28, we will be able really, to make a very good picture in the sense of what has been achieved, and now we can go on, and I'm looking forward.
You said at some time in the future when we can get unanimity. The fact is this is a stopgap solution at best. What's the bigger plan here? Hungary, by law, has the right to veto any progress on membership of a country it doesn't want to be part of this union. Is the idea just to sort of wait around, hope the political situation changes in Hungary, hope the US puts pressure on Budapest, wait to see if we know there's an election incoming? What's the bigger plan?
I don't know exactly how this will happen, but the bigger plan is that if EU 26 member states will be in favor of the EU membership of Ukraine, I don't see the obstacle that one country will block this. We will have to find a solution. Why I'm saying this? Hungary has given a green light that Ukraine could become a candidate country. So no country can become a candidate, and this is huge, without the unanimity decision. And giving a status is also the responsibility and the credibility. So we have to talk to Hungary. We are talking to Hungary, and I'm sure if the member states will want to do this, we will find a solution.
And do you think the Hungarians have a point when they say they've gone to their population, they've asked about this in a referendum, and the Hungarian population, according to the government, has spoken very clearly that they do not want this membership for Ukraine to advance?
The public opinion is, of course, important. It is important what citizens think about some specific area. But if the politicians would always consider the public opinion, or if this public opinion would be more important than the priorities, the vision and the responsibility, I don't know how the world will look like.
When you talked about, you've been in Ukraine, you've witnessed the reforms that are underway while the country is actively being attacked. At the same time, we're hearing from the United States more calls for elections in Ukraine. How do you see that kind of demand? I mean, we presume the US president must be aware of the Ukrainian constitution.
Ukraine has a martial law for the time being, meaning that, there is some reasonable consideration why during the war times actually it is very, very difficult to organize the elections. But in spite of this, President Zelensky has said that he is willing to go to the elections. The most important part organizing the election is that the elections can be fair, and that actually people can go to the elections. If this is not secured, then it makes no sense to have these elections. So the most important part is not should we have the elections, yes or no, but can we organize the elections? And second part is also without interfering. We are now seeing all around Europe, not just in the candidate countries like Moldova, but also in the member states that I call them disruptive external forces. So they are autocrats who would like to move the countries away from the European path and under the line also doing harm to us. So one of the most important things is being able to organize free and fair elections, and this is what also Ukraine, if they will decide, of course, now will have to take care, and we will help.
And they said that the Ukrainian president said he's willing to do that if there is sufficient help from the EU and the US. Are you willing to give it?
You know exactly why I was now explaining a bit longer why this is very much important. It is not just about the decision, once again, having or not having the election. It is how to organize free and fair elections, and of course we are ready to help. We were helping also in Moldova, and we are in the process of helping Armenia, which is having very important parliamentary elections next year.
But is it undue pressure then from the US to say this has to happen if it's not willing to back that up?
I don't think that any country can pressure any other country to have the elections if this country cannot organize these elections. So I hope that if once Ukraine will decide to do this, it will be able to.
This new momentum for joining the European Union, for this reform process that you've now agreed that you're have this political signal from EU member states comes just at a moment after we've had a really notable corruption scandal in Ukraine. How do you view that? Some have said this is proof that the country is nowhere near ready to join the EU. Some have said, look, this is proof that the institutions are working by detecting these kind of issues. How do you see it?
You know, the activities on the field of anti-corruption in Ukraine are not happening in the last 1 year or 2 years. This is the action of the last 15 years. For instance, the independent anti-corruption institutions like NABU and SAPO have been now delivering results. From this point of view, yes, whatever we can have done and help Ukraine to build up anti-corruption independent institutions is now bearing fruits. On the other hand, of course, you know, we are worried about those cases, especially because they are showing how deep actually corruption is present in this country. And, you know, to fight the corruption, not only the laws are necessary, it has to come to change the political culture. But I'm, you know, positive about this. Yesterday when I was in Lviv, we have, together with the Deputy Prime Minister of Ukraine, we have adopted 10 points of the priorities, what needs to be done at first in the next year to even more, to do more on fighting the corruption. And you know, it is also showing that anti-corruption and building the democratic institutions are two most demanding fields for every candidate country and also for Ukraine. And, you know, I could also add that Ukraine is delivering results on this field in spite of being the war. You know, in some other countries, there is no war, but they have more difficulties to deliver. So it is up to us, you know, how we evaluate when the corruption cases are erupting. Is this a sign of a lot of corruption in the country or a sign that anti-corruption institutions are working? So I think it is a combination of this.
Oh, yeah, it's important to note, of course, that the European Union itself, when it comes to member state level or otherwise, is no stranger to a corruption scandal as well. So there's also a question about lecturing there. But I wonder, you said there it's clear that more does need to be done. Can you be specific from the Ukrainian side what more does need to be done when it comes to that really important topic of anti-corruption measures?
You know, you can just have a list, have a look at the list, what we adopted now with the 10 points. It is assuring, one of them is assuring even more independence of the NABU and SAPO institutions. It is about vetting the judges. It is about having included the international experts on this, giving enough financial means, you know, for working NABU and SAPO. But actually, this is nothing new. These are only priorities because we have the reform agenda, and now we have open unofficially cluster 1. So it is clear, very clear, what needs to be done.
we are expecting that as part of any potential peace agreement for Ukraine, that territorial concessions will be involved in some way or other. Does that have any implications for its aspirations of membership?
I cannot answer this, as far as we will not know what is the agreement, but here it is really, up to Ukraine. We are defending the territorial integrity of Ukraine, but they are negotiating, so we will see what will be the result.
Since you've taken office, there's been such a push toward enlargement, which is what you do every single day, about how to grow this bloc. It's been seen as much more of a sort of geopolitical imperative for the European Union. Why is it so important in your eyes?
The world has changed a lot. I'm that old that I have experienced many enlargement processes in the past, but what is clear today is that no future enlargement will be the same as past enlargements. Meaning there are so many for the first time. For the first time, we have a candidate country which is at war. For the first time, we have adversaries who would like to see us fail. Then, we have pressure not just from the East, we have also pressure from the West. We want to be, as Europe, more independent, and what is more important, and I'm speaking out of my own experiences, when my country, Slovenia, was in the process of negotiating and becoming a member of the EU, we have seen this process mainly through the economic glasses. But actually, EU is a peace project. It started as a peace project, and that's why today, when we speak about the enlargement, it is not just because I am enlargement commissioner, but enlargement is much more than only the enlargement. Enlargement is the process of unifying Europe. Enlargement is securing peace in Europe. Enlargement is how to respond to our people's demand, and we take care about our own security. And when I speak about the security, it's also economic security and so on. So much has changed. And, we have expected after the fall of the Berlin Wall, at that time I was a journalist working in Berlin, I came there 2 months after the fall of the wall. This was so much positive energy in the sense of the whole Europe now, or world, will go into the direction of liberal democracy. Today, we are speaking about how to protect our democracy. We have more and more autocrats who have their own picture how the European Union should look like. They want to destroy some parts of the democratic processes because they are actually not enabling them to do what they want to do. So, speaking about free media, speaking about resilient media today, you're one representative, has never been that important today. And this whole picture of enlargement is having part in these big, big changes we are experiencing today.
And spell out for me what you think the risks are. If those countries which are earnestly trying to join the European Union, engaging in reforms, are left in the waiting room, as we both know, frankly, many have been, what happens then for them and for the EU?
A very good question, and I will go again back to the autocrats or disruptive forces who actually don't want to see economically developed or democratic countries. Nowadays, I will tell you this on the example, what EU is striving is enabling countries to be prosperous, to live in peace. That's why we are helping not just the candidates, but also the other countries, like, for instance, Armenia. And we want them to be democratic. We want them to respect the rule of law, human dignity, and so on. But then we have the autocrats who do not want to have strong economic countries around them, who don't want to have democratic countries around them. Why? Because if they were so, they would not be able to control them. So, again, if I go back to your question, it is a lot about, how to live in security and peace today. You know what autocrats are doing. The first they are after is free media. The second, they are attacking the civil society organizations. They take away the freedoms. They don't want their people to live in a free country. So this is huge, what is happening today. So what we will lose is exactly this, and what we can gain as the EU is securing Europe as a continent to be a safe and peaceful continent.
You will not have failed to notice the US security strategy, described as pretty explosive, very critical toward the European Union, when it comes to the likes of the Western Balkans. In parts of the Western Balkans, NATO membership, so membership of that Western military alliance, has been seen by some as a sort of prerequisite for EU membership. If the US is stepping back as a potential security provider for Europe, does that have any implications for how the EU sees those countries, the likes of Bosnia and Herzegovina, or the likes of candidates like Kosovo? Does that change how you look at them?
The Western Balkans is a special case because we haven't been able to integrate them when they wanted, or when they started to want to become a member of the EU. And in this respect, we are paying a price for this because we have a region of instability. It is good that some of those countries are member of NATO, and it's very interesting, you know, for those countries, it was easier to become a member of NATO than it is to become a member of European Union. For Moldova or Ukraine nowadays, it's much easier to become, it's very difficult, but easier to become a member of the European Union. We don't know about the NATO. We are very much interested to integrate all the countries of the Western Balkans in the European Union. All of them are candidate countries or on the edge of becoming the candidate countries. We have many programs, also financial programs, when we support them. And in many areas, we work together with the Americans to secure peace and prosperity. For instance, like in Bosnia and Herzegovina, where without the United States of America, probably we wouldn't have gotten a Dayton Agreement, which has secured peace in this country.
In the region, Serbia, the assessment you gave in your enlargement report earlier this year was not particularly rosy when you talked about Serbia's progress or lack thereof in terms of trying to join the EU. One of the concerns among the ground, among citizens there at the moment, is about energy supply, given that US sanctions are targeting a Russian-owned oil refinery there. How do you see that risk? Is there something the European Union can do to mitigate it? Do you see it just as the consequence of Serbia's foreign policy?
There is a place for Serbia in the EU, but a place of democratic Serbia in the EU, and we are helping. We are helping, and we are also willing to help with the problems with the needs and energy supply. And we have offered the help, and we will see how the leadership of Serbia will react to this. On the other hand, it is true, as you have said, Serbia has experienced backsliding, as we saw it, especially in the field of judiciary, in the field of free media, or academic freedom. So they will have to do much, much more if they would want really to become a member of the EU. And especially, you know, they will have to decide on which side they are. I can understand because I'm coming from this area, I can understand that they have special relations to Russia. But seeing Russia as an ally nowadays, when Russia is killing people in Ukraine, at some point, and now this is the time, Serbia will have to choose on which side it is.
And what side do you think it's on just now?
It will still have to prove. I think it is on the European side. But we have to do some steps in order to help them, and also to build trust. It's what actually the people of Serbia have been demanding when they have been gone to the streets. Actually, their demands are the same as we are asking the government or the leadership of Serbia. So it is still a lot to be done. But having Serbia as a candidate country is also the opportunity. First, we can help. On the other hand, it is kind of safe net we can offer to this country in these turbulent times.
Let's look into your crystal ball for me, if you can. Which country do you think will be the next one to join the European Union, and when?
Yeah, I don't need a crystal ball. You can just look at my enlargement wall, then you can see the results. But we are on a very good way with Montenegro and Albania. I'm speaking about the technical part of the negotiations, which I'm responsible for, because the other part is a political dynamic in the member states. From the technical point of view, Montenegro could finish or closing all the chapters, finish the negotiations at the end of 26, Albania at the end of 27. Then we need 1 to 1.5 years to go through the ratification process. So I am optimistic, or I'm a realistic optimist, and I think that even during my mandate, which ends at the end of 29, the European Union could have at least 2 new members.
In order to expand credibly, the European Union, most experts agree, needs to reform internally. We've seen how long it can take to make any sort of a decision because of some decisions requiring unanimous backing. If you have more people at the table, that means more stumbling blocks. Do you commit to doing that homework? On what timeline? And is that really going to get done given the obstacles we see from different countries and capitals?
Yes, we are already in this process. We are now in the process of, we call it pre-enlargement review. You could also call it a stress test for the European Union. So at the beginning of next year, March, April, the European Commission will present the assessment on how ready we are for the newcomers, and what needs to be done. And this is the most important point, that once we will get newcomers on board, we will be stronger, not weaker. And after we will come out with these results, then we will have to have a very open and thorough debate about how do we, I would say, regulate ourselves. This is, we can do a lot, but this is us, it is the member states, and we will have to find a compromise. And I think that the development in the last years has shown that we are capable of bringing the necessary decision when it's necessary. Sometimes the road is bumpy, but once I was asked, why are we so slow in the decision-making process? Why we cannot make a decision in one night? We have 27 member states, so there are procedures how to get to the compromise. The autocrats can do it in one night, but in a democratic system, we need more time. But once we get these decisions, then all the member states know where they are. And I grew up in a communist country, in a completely other system, and I can really speak out of my own experiences what the EU membership has brought to my country, but not just to the country, to the people of the country. And I'm happy that based on the large Eurobarometer, 74% of the European citizens think that EU membership is something positive for them.
Commissioner, let me just briefly push you on this, because you said you're confident things will start moving. But those reforms that the EU has to do, or many experts say the EU has to do if it wants to expand, could include the very painful process for some member states of giving up their veto rights, and especially smaller countries. That seems very controversial, and not least Hungary, which often exercises that veto and is criticised for it. What makes you confident that you could achieve a reform which would include such controversial kind of measures?
You know, we don't know in which direction these reforms will go. This is what we will see. But there are for sure some areas where we could change the unanimity decision in the qualified majority decisions. There are some areas where it is needed that we stick to the unanimity. So we will really see, you know, which kind of reforms. But also, you know, one very important part would be safeguards. For instance, how to ensure that once we will get new members on board, they will do what needs to be done. I call this safeguards. So what kind of safeguards in the sense that they will still, you know, now we are pushing and we are demanding from the candidate countries a lot. So what kind of mechanism or safeguards we would have to have in order that once we will have more countries or the newcomers will also follow the rules once they are the member. In which direction this will be then discussed among the member states.
And could that be a sort of probation period for new members?
Everything is possible. You know, everything is possible. What shouldn't be done, and I think it will not be done, that we will have first and second class members. You know, we are equal. This is based in our European treaty. So this is the basis, then we will see.
Marta Kos, European Commissioner for Enlargement, thank you so much for speaking to DW.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.